Hello, cheeseheads, and welcome to the cheese room. We are going live 3 minutes early, which means for some reason HG is just disconnected, but I'm sure we'll be back in a minute. Don't worry about that. I'm joined tonight by Seb, all the way from up north in the Potteries. Is that fair to say, Seb?
No, not at all. Not in the Potteries. Not even vaguely near the Potteries. Somewhere near Cheshire. There you go.
Cheshire borders, Seb likes to
That's the one.
describe Stoke-on-Trent as. Maybe he's in Alton Towers, I don't know. So we're going over a few topics tonight, a bit of old ground, but a bit of new ground to the YouTube thing. Please do get your questions in. Thanks very much for watching. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do. It helps us out bundles, and if you click the little bell, not HG's picture, the bell, I can say that because he's not here, you will get notified whenever we go live. So guys, kicking off, let's have a chat, Seb, about Leicester. So I know you haven't maybe seen all the game, but how does it feel? How does it feel to do one over Brendan Rodgers? 4-2, smashed them up, and wiped the smile off their little foxy faces somewhat. Do you not think?
I don't have the angst for Leicester that I know particularly Franco and maybe a few others have. I had real kind of mixed emotions yesterday. I listened to it yesterday. I couldn't watch the games. First game I haven't watched in more than 2 years. But if it hadn't have been for the fact that we finished above Arsenal, I actually didn't care yesterday. And in a way, I would have liked to have seen Leicester get in ahead of Chelsea or Liverpool and upset that top four that seems to be pre-bought in my mind. It's the people we spend the most amount of money.
Yeah.
So I would have, if it hadn't have mattered finishing ahead of Arsenal, I perhaps wouldn't have cared so much. And as the goals went in, I was kind of like, oh, that's great. We finished seventh ahead of Arsenal, but we've got to play in that Conference League. And it would have been, for me, as a football fan, I would have liked to have seen the usual suspects changed. Chelsea. Let's be honest. Manchester City, Manchester United buy their place into the top four. So did Chelsea, and pretty much so did Liverpool. So it's pre-bought. So would have been nice to have seen something a little bit different for me. But I know I'm in the minority. Don't tell Franco I said that.
I mean, I hate Leicester, to be honest, because I have to work with people from Leicester, all day at work. And quite frankly, I think the fact that they're so celebrated within the Premier League is the thing that makes, not within the Premier League, within the media, is the thing that makes me vomit the most.
But they're always going to be, because they did have, whichever way you look at it, they did have the most unbelievable Premier League season, the most. That will never be done again.
Move on.
It will never be done again. But people still going about Aguero. People still going about Fergie. But it was unbelievable. And not only that, I'm not saying anything about this at all, other than their chairman died in a helicopter accident outside the ground. They're always going to be a popular, sentimental club. They are a lot of people's second team. So that's the situation.
Yeah. Well,
I think HG's lost his temper.
I think he's got to get his headphones, because I can hear a little bit of echo. I just had to turn him down a little bit, but he's still coming through a little bit. So let's let him sort his technical. By the way, HG's hair is absolutely phenomenal. I've got to say, it's like Jason Statham. I think you described it as before we come on air, didn't you, Seb?
That was the one. Yeah.
Not quite.
It looks like looks like he could take Muir on in a street fight. Maybe we should do it.
What, Muir versus HG on the skywalk? Yeah. With weapons to the death. Yeah. I don't know who my money would be on.
Let's get a Kickstarter going, or a crowdfunder or whatever. Get HG over from Vienna.
Can you imagine it? Him and Muir just literally smashing each other up on the skywalk, like with some sort of like street fight weapons, and Hadouken and all of that business. And
I'd pay for that. I'd tell you what, I'd pay more for that than you have just paid for your season ticket, Corder.
Well, yes, I have renewed my season ticket to Spurs, and he's with a heavy heart. I gave Daniel Levy, over £1,000 of my money this evening, but unfortunately, it has to be done, doesn't it? So there you go. There you go. Here he is. He's back. HG, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can now. Yeah.
Oh, and we can all hear you. Thank you very much for plugging your headphones in. I was wondering
No
about that.
worries.
We were just saying, with that haircut, you look like slightly Jason Statham-esque. And then we were talking about, Seb put this out there that maybe we could have like a death match, you versus Muir on this, and I sort of said, yeah, on the skywalk with weapons.
Sounds like a Bond scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's falling out, so you may as well just get rid of it. But it's a bit short even for my liking. But Jason Statham is welcome to the comparison, I'm sure.
Well, it was more like a cross between Jason Statham and Matt Lucas. So make of that what you will.
Dear. HG, Leicester, how happy were you about it? I've heard Seb's view. He's not really that arsed, to be honest. Were you as happy as me?
With what? The fact that they screwed up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was happy because Spurs won. The fact that Leicester lost and lost out was, kind of incidental, but Spurs did what we needed to do, and Leicester choked in their own inimitable way. So, I wasn't upset by any means, but it was more about Spurs winning.
Yeah. Well, that was good. I mean, there's some comments coming in, and the Sweaty Cockerel says, I hate Leicester with a passion. Their lump it to Mahrez and Vardy tactic was frustrating but annoyingly effective, managed by a complete loon. That's very true, I think. There's definitely some merit in that. And he also follows up with cheating, dirty Vardy. Those two penalties were bought, weren't they, HG? They were bought, totally bought. Did you see him, Seb, at all?
Yeah, I've seen them both. The first one, not too much, but the second one was travesty, really.
Unbelievable. Just literally unbefrickin-leavable. But we're past that now. We're past that. We've sailed past the season of I don't even know how to describe it, like a steaming pile of manure. The last 12 months in the Tottenham Hotspur. It all started so well. It was going great till Christmas, and then Santa took the presents away, and took Jose's job away while he was.
Are you saying that we went to Liverpool and had things stolen? Is that what you're getting
at? Our spirit and our soul, HG. Our spirit and our soul. Right. Here's my question for you though, because I'm a bit of a Gareth Bale fanboy. I've got the shirt. I love him. I think he's the best Spurs player I've ever seen in the Spurs shirt ever. In my lifetime, live in the flesh, the best Spurs player. Do you think he changed the game for us, HG, when he came on?
Changed it? I mean, no. I think the change in the game was when Schmeichel punched the ball in his own net. Before that, I don't think I really saw us scoring. To be honest, we looked a bit better with Bale and Lucas on the pitch, but I don't think it was really down to Bale. What it meant is that suddenly at 2-2, Leicester were desperate for a goal, and then we could leave Bale up the pitch, and that's what happened when we got the third. So, yeah, it was nice, and it's obviously good to see a person who can come on and take those chances, because anyone else on the pitch, you may have thought, I don't know if this is going to happen. If Dele had taken that shot from outside the box after Kane had laid it back to him, I don't think any of us thought it was going to go in. So it was nice, but yeah, it's all about Schmeichel. I mean, it was wonderful, calamitous goalkeeping that we all love to see, especially when it goes in our favour.
Well, Schmeichel's the guy that he's the hero quite often and the villain sometimes, isn't he? He's too inconsistent, surely, to be considered a top keeper, wouldn't you say, Seb? I don't want to cover him too much, but we'll just comment on that as you brought it up, HG.
If you like, I don't really have an opinion either way. I think he's a bog standard Premier League goalkeeper. Wouldn't say there's anything special at all. He's
that save in the cup final though. That save, won him the cup, didn't it?
He's capable, like Caller said, he's capable of great moments, but I wouldn't put him in the top 4 or 5 goalkeepers in the league. He's probably a Tottenham standard goalkeeper. He's probably 7th or 8th best in the league, to be honest.
He's your
But
standard Eric Torsfed-esque keeper, the sublime and the ridiculous, right?
he can do some good things, and yeah, that saving the cup final was worthy of winning that cup final. But he has got a ricket in him. It's not the first time yesterday that we've seen that.
So we've dissed Vardy, we've dissed Schmeichel, I've rubbished Leicester. I'm happy to move on now. I feel like, that's got all of that out of my system. But I will come back to Bale just very briefly. I mean, he gave some sort of cryptic answer at the end of the game, didn't he? About, he can't comment on his future because people will lose their minds or something like that. What does that mean, Seb?
Retiring to be a golf pro. That's what I think.
Any advance on that, HG?
I joked, I think maybe after the pod last night, that it means he's going to Arsenal, but that really would be chaos. But I don't know. I don't care. I think it was either on the pod or afterwards. I talked about it that he's going to retire after next year's World Cup, and basically between now and then, it's going to be make sure he's ready for Wales. He can hopefully qualify Wales for the World Cup, but that's his goal. What else he does outside of that, I don't really care. But I think that Bale is, despite the fact that he can still do it, just not that interested. So, yeah.
I think he's got better stats than a lot of players. I've seen various things thrown in the Patreon group. If you're not a Pewtering Patreon, by the way, details below in the scrolling ticket. Get on there. It's great value for money at only £3 a month, less than a pint at the new stadium. In fact, whilst I was there the other night, there is footage of this on social media. They actually changed the price of a pint of neck oil whilst the people were assembled in the So you queued up for a price and it was like £5, and you got there it was £5.65 or something like that. It's like you've been levied.
It was never going to go down, was it?
It was just amusing, and there is some footage of it on social media. It's quite funny. I mean, it didn't bother me, but I know some people were getting a little bit shitty about it. Right, Harry leaving. What we saying then? So the goodbye, the hugs, the lap of honour on his own that Steve Diver would it would be remiss of me to say it wasn't on his own. It's just all the media cut out the people who were around him. Is he saying goodbye, HG? And do you think that's the last time against Leicester we'll see Harry Kane in a Spurs shirt?
I think he wants to say goodbye, but no, I don't think it'll be the last time we see him. I don't. And maybe that's just I want that to be the case. I don't want him to go. But there's really nothing in it for Daniel Levy. So unless someone really, really stumps up a serious amount of money, which I'm not sure anyone will, for a guy who's almost 28, and perhaps the powers could be waning. I mean, you're not going to get the prime Kane. You might get a
hang on.
one.
He's just had his best ever season, has he, in terms of overall output, assists and goals?
Yeah, if you count assists, I don't. You know what I thought about assists. Like Kane is a great striker. There's no doubt about it, and he probably scored more goals had we been more attacking this season. I don't think there's any doubt about that either. But someone's going to have to stump up some money, and I just don't see anyone paying the money that Levy will want. Levy still has all the cards, despite Harry Kane trying to do everything via the media and trying to paint himself as somehow the wronged one. He's not. He signed the contract willingly. There was nothing in the contract about he could leave if Poch goes or if results get worse. If there was, no. But I mean, it sounds obvious, but like other players do that, right? If I don't get Champions League football, then there's some kind of release clause. Now, he didn't ask for that. He didn't get it, and Levy won that deal. There's no doubt about that. So, like, I get Kane's frustration because as fans, we're all frustrated that we're not as good as we were. Yeah. But tough shit, frankly.
I like that. Seb, what's your response? Do you think? I mean, do you think he's playing that game with the media? Do you think this is all Kane conniving to try and engineer himself a move? And ultimately, do you think he will get it?
I don't know, because part of me thinks you'd be really, really silly to have come out and said what you've said and done the walk around the stadium and then had this close hug with Son and Dele and make it look like you're going if you're not going. But why would you do that? I also saw something that I thought was really interesting. I'm not sure what media outlet it was from, but it was a chap commentating, former player, who said that we should be outraged by Harry Kane's behaviour. and that last year when Pogba was trying to force through a move, everyone was outraged. How is he treating Manchester United like this? How dare he? It just shows what a prima donna he is and all this. Well, Kane's worse. This is the England captain who is carrying out this behaviour, and yet the media are lapping it up because it's Spurs. If it was Kane at Manchester United doing this, it'd be, oh, you can't treat Manchester United like that. You can't treat the club. No one's moaning about, actually, as HG said. I've said it on previous pods. I said it on the pod I was on earlier in the week. He knew what he was getting into, and it was levelled at me when he signed his contract. And it was levelled at me that, he was under Pochettino, he expected bigger and better things. 6 years is an age in football. It's an awfully long time. So many things can happen that no manager, don't quote me on this. I don't know how many managers are currently in the Premier League who've been at a club 6 years, but there won't be many, if any.
No.
So you have to expect changes of manager, and you committed to that club. And he, not being funny, he's very well rewarded. He's earned more money out of Tottenham than any other player ever. So what he's doing, if he is playing the media game as England captain, as Spurs figurehead, he shouldn't be doing it.
Do you remember? I remember when Wayne Rooney did something similar, but at that point Rooney only had a year left on his deal, right? And clearly Rooney was just using it to maybe get the deal he wanted from Man United, because he knew at that point he had all the leverage. And United fans didn't like him for it because they thought he was going to get a ridiculous amount of money that he didn't need. Yes, that's all true. Only Kane has zero leverage, apart from, I'm a nice guy. The mask is kind of slipping a little bit for Kane. I don't know if he is. He's very minded, which is not always a bad thing. But the impression that if this is how he is about Harry Kane and making sure that Harry Kane gets what Harry Kane wants, to use the third person too much, I don't know. It's very but we're not doing anything to make him unhappy. So I don't get it. There's nothing to say, well, you've got to sign good players. Well, we've tried. We've done badly, but we have tried. So it's I'm not anti-Kane.
Well,
but at the end of the day, this is... Go on.
No, let me ask you a couple of questions. We've got lots of questions coming in on the chat, as you can probably see. My question is, and let me just throw a couple of these up. How much money gets us to talk about Kane? So Luke Taylor, anything over 100 million gets Kane, I reckon. David Harris, 125 million for Kane and Cheerio. I presume that means goodbye, not a packet of Cheerios thrown into the sweeten the deal. Kane's not going anywhere. Don't be silly. From Keith. Keith may be right. You never know. Soren, how much do you think? Soren says, how much do you think Lever will demand for Harry Kane? Seb, what's the price on Mr. Kane's head?
Well, I would say that it's getting towards the £150 million mark, and I would say that in other years that maybe 100 million and players from the buying club might get a deal over the line, depending on who those players were. But we've got a problem in our squad, is that we've got no room. We've certainly not got much room for foreigners, and English players hold a premium themselves. Yeah. So I can't see if for instance City came to us and said 100 million and Gabriel Jesus, as this is just a made up scenario, then the problem that we have is, okay, the 100 million sounds nice, and we've maybe got a replacement, but that replacement is foreign. We've lost our homegrown player. I wouldn't see that would break it. I think 150 million pure cold upfront cash, that would have to turn Levy's head. That's almost double what he got for Bale.
Do you think that would really take 150 million? I think it begins with a 2, to be honest. I think
no, that money doesn't exist. That money does not exist.
Oh, it does. It does. Of course, it does. You're talking about City, who are owned by a sovereign wealth. No,
it doesn't exist. Look, financial fair play is a joke anyway. Even with that, it doesn't exist. Neymar was 100 and was it 188 million?
Well, it was 192, but
Was it?
thereabouts.
Yeah, and they had issues, and they had tried to do the Mbappe thing, and they had to hold it off, and all that. In my mind, COVID and whatever you want to interpret FFP as means that 200 million, I think, is beyond the realms of any football club.
And what about this then? This is what I'd be inclined to say, HG. 100 million and Sterling and Diaz. Yeah. Meaning go away. I don't want to do a deal with you at all.
I'd rather take 100 million sterling than 100 million and sterling. What the heck? No. Sorry, that's what confused me. I want nothing to do with Raheem Sterling. I kind of agree with Caller on this. Like, Levy's got all the cards, and so Levy will say, break the world record and he's yours. Simple. And now, obviously, he's not worth it to Man City, but he is worth it to Spurs. Yeah. So why would we give him for a let's say a regular fee, a normal fee, one that he's actually worth? We don't need to sell him. If we do sell him, as we all know, we then have to go and buy 2 strikers with it. Yeah. Who are we going to get realistically that could replicate the output? I don't know. I understand that next year, when he's only got 2 years left, we'll get a lot less. Then we'd be able to ask for a lot less than we ask for now.
No, not necessarily though, HG, because I mean, if the world recovers, recovers and we get full capacity crowds in over the next sort of 12 months, then surely that, even with 2 years worth of his contract, he's going to be 28 this time next year, isn't he? He's going towards 29. But Kane talks about like playing till he's 36, 37 when you hear him play. And there's no reason why he can't go on into his mid-30s, because he's never been the quickest, let's be honest. I don't see that you're going to get significantly less from next summer. And in terms of what he could be worth to Spurs, if we were to get Champions League qualification out of it, then surely that alone means that it's worth hanging on for another year. Because, I mean, you've said it. You've sort of said exactly what I think. Levy holds every card in this, and quite frankly, you replace Kane, you're looking for the most creative midfielder in the Premier League and the most prolific striker in the Premier League. So it's not like you can just replace him with Danny Ings, who's going to bang a load of goals in for you. You've got to replace him with 2 players. Surely, Seb, go on.
Yeah, just thinking out loud while you were talking, I think I'm right that when we got to the Champions League final, that netted us just over £100 million in
right,
TV money. So, but that was getting to the final.
Yeah.
Now we're in a situation now where obviously we're miles away from qualifying, and as we said pre this chat in the blurb beforehand, that in my mind the top 4 is pre-bought. The teams that qualified this time round, they bought their way. Chelsea, Man United, City, Liverpool could be argued that they're a bit more clever with their finances, but they go out and they buy their position in the league. So in my mind, you're after one league position. Now, what Levy will be weighing up, and why I am worried that this might be happening, is that you look at the finances involved for Kane. That is effectively, I would say, given if we got into the Champions League, suppose we got to the Champions League for the next 3 years, there's a possibility that the money you get from Kane alleviates the financial need to get into the Champions League for the next 3 years. Now, I hate saying that. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about being the best you can be on the pitch. But from a business point of view, selling Kane alleviates the need to qualify for the Champions League and the money you would earn from that for certainly 2 years, if not 3. And we are miles away from Champions League football anyway. So to have that money there done in...
Well, we are, Seb, but I've got to be honest, I still don't think... I think the squad's massively underperformed. And if you look at where we finished with our points tally, if we'd have... I think it was HG on the pod said, if we kept a few more clean sheets, wasn't it, HG, we would have finished top 4. Quite conceivably. We're not that far away from it. Everyone wants to be really doom and gloom and dour, and we have had a crap season, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
we have. But the football has been terrible.
But Chelsea had a crap season, right? Chelsea had a crap season. They just had it earlier, so they did something about it.
Yeah.
Liverpool had a crap season. Man United had a crap season, right? They will get better and stronger, right? We're behind them, and they will improve, as I hope we do. I don't think that we're nowhere near a given. We're nowhere near a given for top five or six.
I don't think I'm arguing that. I'm arguing that I think we'll be more competitive next year if we pick the right man for the job in terms of a manager who can actually coach the players correctly. Because
look, you're involved in business, and that's how I'm looking at it. And like I say, I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't like this argument, but if you are given the choice of try and compete and spend money to compete, because that's what we need to do. If we keep Kane, okay, we are going to have to spend, what do we think, 100 million to improve that squad? Now, we might sell players to fund that, but we are 2 or 3 very, very good players short, certainly first team players short. Okay, so if you're Levy, you've got to put your hand in your pocket to try and get Champions League football, which, let's be honest, is all about. It's not about glory. It's about how much money can you earn through the Champions League. It's what the Super League was about.
Yeah.
But you are now being given the opportunity to bank that. Done. Bang. It's there. 150 million, let's say, up front. That is, like I said, 2, maybe 3 years, maybe even 4 years of what we could earn if we qualified for the Champions League. It's horrible to say.
I mean, it's a cynical view, Seb.
But do not think that conversation hasn't taken place. Do not think that conversation has not been around the Tottenham boardroom.
No, I don't think that is right. I don't think they would think like that.
I think you're deluded.
Well, you may, but you're entitled to your opinion, but you're wrong. Franco just popped up, not that comment. This one, yeah, I like this one. Not having that, Seb. Keep Kane. This summer, spend the money we'll get from him selling him next year, get in the Champions League, convince him to stay. What a great shout.
That's correct. That's correct. That is the right thing to do. I'm not saying that I would do that. I would sell Kane. I want to keep him. I want Levy to fund a rebuild and hire the right manager and all those things. But is that going to happen? I don't know.
See, I'd sell him, but I wouldn't sell him to anyone in the Premier League. And I wouldn't.
You would sell him?
I would sell him for a mega offer,
which is,
to me, I've told you, it's 180
world
plus.
Record.
180 plus world record fee. It needs to be world record fee because we don't need to sell him. Despite your argument about revenue and all the rest of it, go look at the finances. We don't need to sell him. We're a rich club. We've got £240 million sat in the current account. I've heard a lot of bullshit this last month, and I don't say maybe enough about it to rubbish it. But this Bank of England loan we've taken it because they're probably making more on interest rates than they are on paying the debt interest on it. It's purely a cash flow defensive manoeuvre to make sure there is enough cash flow in the business. It was in case it really went to shit, and it was extended for a lot longer than we think it's going to be. That's why we could pay the loan back tomorrow if we wanted to, but it wouldn't make any sense to do so financially. So we are not strapped for cash. We have got stadium debt, which I know a lot of people again bang on about, but we pay about 20 million off that stadium debt a year. It is not the noose around our neck that people think it is. It is a very long-term leveraged debt. So we are a rich club. We don't need to sell him. And in all honesty, if we're going to replace him, you're going to need a world record fee to replace him with the quality that he brings to the team. And that's where I'm at with it. That is where I'm at with it. I do think this is a good point. John Williams, Man City's transfer record is around 65 million quid. I think that is correct. They don't historically pay for one player. They buy lots of players, about 40 to 65 million. This would be a shift in their culture. That's true, isn't it, HG? Oh, you're on mute, mate. You're on mute. Somehow. I'll come to you, Seb.
Okay.
That is, City don't generally pay that kind of money for players, do they?
No, they don't.
So could you see them doing it on this occasion? Because it would be out of character, would it not?
Yeah, but they buy winners. They buy top players. they're just, they pay them a lot of money. Look, whichever way we look at it, and whichever way we think Kane's going to go, a conversation has taken place. And most people believe that conversation to be with Manchester City. Because I think we all think that if he went to Manchester United, he's deluded.
Chelsea.
And if we went, he went to Chelsea, he would, he would undo pretty much everything that he's built up over 7 or 8 years. So I think we all think it's Man City, and I think most of us think that he is aware of conversations that have taken place, whether that's with agents, managers, chairman, whatever. So look, we might be putting 2 and 2 together and making 5, but the more like we've said, the more I think about it, the more it makes no sense for him to be going or to go. But what's he doing, hugging all these people and almost teary? And
hang on, he does. In fairness, I think there is a lot of reading a lot into it right now, because they do the lap of honour at the end of every season, and normally it's a lot different to that. But we're not in a normal time.
I thought he was going to snog Dele Alli, right? That's not normal.
I don't know. I don't know. That season we went close. He was tugging him a few times, wasn't he? And I don't just mean, no, I'm not going to go there. Hey, do you, HG, you're telling me it's not normal to hug your teammate,
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly. You're dulcet.
All right, good.
Again.
I don't think it's particularly normal, but nothing that Kane's done in the last couple of weeks has been normal. I mean, it is all for TV. Like, he could have waited for any particular interview from any particular source, but no, he chose Sky, right? He chose to do an interview with Gary Neville to say the things that he said. Now, granted, he didn't come out and say, I want to leave, but why are you in control of that situation? You shouldn't be. It's really not your business at all. People will ask you when you're at England, and I realise he doesn't want to have to deal with it when he's with England at the Euros, but tough. I have very little sympathy for him because of the fact that it's his decision that got him in this position in the first place. No one else's. To me, the whole thing is just to try and get a bit of public sympathy for the struggle that he has. And the struggle that he has is, well, there is no struggle.
Mein Kampf.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that in Austria, but
the translation, my struggle,
Yeah, we just avoid that subject completely here. But I don't know. I don't want to be anti-Kane, but if it was anyone else doing this, everyone would be up in arms.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know what's so different. Ericsson said with 2 years left, I want to leave. I'm not going to sign a new contract. Actually, he never said I want to leave. He said I'm not going to sign a new contract and basically left it up to the club. Kane can't do that because he signed such a long contract. He has zero leverage. It's apart from I want to leave. Now, Man City may well want to pay the money that we know they definitely can. They don't. We've seen that they don't. They've spent 50 million on De Bruyne and the same on John Stones and the same on Rodri and lots of Laporte, Mendy. They're all about 50 million, and they don't buy those players. But that's his only option. And if I'm Levy, if there's one thing I've learned in 20 years of being chairman of Spurs, you do not sell to a rival. Right? You don't. The only reason we let Walker go is because I genuinely think Pochettino thought we could, right? And that we'd be okay with Trippier, and that we just buy someone else with the money and strengthen the squad. I don't think anything apart from that was a good idea. But we obviously, the way that Pochettino treated Walker after he decided he wanted to go, meant that Pochettino seemed to be okay with it. That Levy will have learned that, you don't let players go on free, absolutely. But you don't sell your better players like Modric, like Bale. We don't need to do that to a better team and to an English team anymore. Berbatov was probably the last before Walker. That's what 2, and Berbatov was 2. So that's one sale in 13 years to a side within the Premier League of one of our better players. No. There's no way Levy will even consider it unless it's silly money. And even if PSG offered 150, I'm not so sure he'd take it. I think he might outside the league, but it's not going to be less than 9 figures. I mean, it's not. 9 figures. It's not going to be less than 100. It's just I don't really know why we're talking about it, because Like Levy has all the cards, and Kane can whinge all he wants, but whether it's publicly or privately or to his mates in the media or whatever he wants to do. But no, sorry, Harry, you've put yourself in this. You change yourself to a club that has a challenge in my lifetime. Count the list here as a challenge because we were never really that close. The season after we were. That's what to do that, thinking that was going to be the normal. Where have you been for the last 30 years? Right? Like, you don't have to be a real student of Tottenham to understand that the last 10 years has been, without trophies, but still a relatively successful period of time for Spurs. Certainly the best that any of us fans can really remember. So, I mean, we're all in our early 40s, late 30s. We don't remember anything else. This is as good as it's got for us. And Kane decided that was always going to be the case. It's all
I just
on
want
Kane.
to pick you up on one thing, which was that Trippier was Walker's replacement, and obviously he was absolutely lambasted at the time, particularly by Aaron Jolly, if I remember rightly. And now he's won the Spanish league and has got a league winners medal.
Playing for a very defensive side, which Spurs never were.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a massive part of it. Atletico Madrid, they don't go out and win games 3-0, 4-0 like Spurs were doing when we were at our pomp.
He's a good player, though. That's my point. He's a good player. He's a good enough right back. Look what we've got now. We've got Aurier. We've got freaking Aurier.
He wasn't good enough to replace what Walker did.
No.
And that was folly to think that he would, because he never had the pace. He never had the athleticism. It was a different type of fullback. He could come in and play 2 games against Watford every season. He came in and did a job, but just like with Davies on the other side, they weren't as good as Walker and Rose. But we didn't lose a great deal when we were without one of them. But when we were without both, there was a massive problem. And so, Trippier's done really well at Atletico Madrid, and I don't begrudge him any of it. But let's not sit here and say that he is half the player Walker was for us, because he wasn't. He really wasn't.
Yeah. Well, there is one bright spot to Harry leaving. We're going to move on to managers in a minute, but there's one bright spot to Harry leaving. Does HG realise it will be the end of Harry Kane? Realise it will be the end of taking free kicks if he leaves? Because no one's going to give him that gig. No one's going to give him that gig. They've seen you, Harry, and you are terrible.
England will.
Oh, God help us. Well, he's the captain, isn't it? You can just claim it. It's mine. It's mine. And your kid on the playground, you just get the ball.
Who else is going to start?
One.
Yeah. Go on.
So switching gears slightly and moving past Kane. I'm just going to summarise. Seb, is Kane going, yes or no?
No.
I love you. HG, Kane going, yes or no?
In my world, no, but in Levy's, probably not. No, he's not going. No, he's not.
I don't think he is either. So much so that I will order the new shirt with Kane on the back of it.
I feel like there's a lot of Spurs fans, the Spurs fans who are most vocal about hating Levy, about saying that Levy only cares about finances and doesn't care about the team and that what the team does on the pitch, are the ones that are saying that Kane deserves to go and that Levy's let him down. It's almost like they're not thinking logically. Their only basis is, I must blame Levy for everything, right? You can't say that Levy only cares about money and then want him to care about money. There's no logic there. So for all of those people who most likely aren't watching this and are listening to some other useless pod instead, but no, it's completely illogical.
Listen, I've got to tell you something, because Sweaty Cockerel has won me over with this comment today. I don't know if you've seen it flash up, but I spent the last few weeks begging people to buy the Spurs shirt from DHgate and not to fund ENIC, but purchased the new special edition Spurs shirt today. Thanks for your honesty. So
he's going to get a bar of chocolate, isn't he? Didn't Spurs come out and say that the first 1,921 people that bought a shirt will get a special bar of Cadbury's chocolate?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is that the incentive for spending 70 quid on a shirt? And 100,
I guess. A bit of chocolate so you can't fit into it even more. It's It's crazy. But I definitely saw that on.
Does look a bit tightly fitted. I mean, this is enough for me. It's a bit, but there you go. Right, moving forward. Management. I've seen some very funny suggestions today. Some very very funny suggestions today. Apparently, Pochettino's coming back, guys.
Yes.
What do we think about that, Seb?
I wouldn't say no. Look,
what?
People are going to call me out on that. People are going to call me out on that and say, when we got rid of Pochettino, you were all for Mourinho, and I was, and make no bones about that. But as we said earlier in the pod, 5 years, not at all. Give it a rest. But 5 years as a club manager, or 6 was it? I can't even remember now. Is a long time, and he went stale, and he wasn't backed. If there is an opportunity for him to come back with a clean slate, and he is going to be backed in the transfer market, and basically say to Levy, better the devil trust me in the transfer market to make the right decisions. Dele Alli would be rejuvenated.
Kane he'd be licking his tongue, wouldn't he? He'd just be licking his tongue in anticipation.
Seb, I can change your mind with 5 words.
Go on.
Danny Rose contract extension. Poch.
I thought you were going to go Son at left back. Final.
No, why would anyone bring that awful decision up? It just taints Pochettino's entire Spurs career when you bring up the one thing, or one of the few things he got completely wrong at the worst possible time.
Michel Vorm, replacement keeper, semi.
Yeah, there we go. No, I mean, that's just it. Like, Pochettino coming back, I wouldn't be bothered if it never happened. Like we did well. I never loved him like most Spurs fans. I never felt that connection to him that most did. So to me, it's like, okay. I'm not pro.
How could you not? What is wrong with you? How could you not love that man at various points throughout his tenure? There was, I look, when he finished, I was done with him, but I loved that man.
Not really. No? I just never did. No, like the team was great. We were playing great football, but I never loved him. I never really warmed to him. Who knows why that was, but I just didn't. So when Pochettino started, saying the things he said, and would talk about, maybe leaving the club, and only certain competitions were important to him, those things they didn't endear him to me. So I don't know.
There was one thing that he used to say that used to infuriate me, and I bet he still says it now, which is...
I'm going to have my say on this in a minute. Go on, yeah.
After a defeat, he would more often than not say, "This is football." And that used to absolutely drive me nuts, because it's not football. It's that you haven't planned or prepared well enough. It's all those things, lose 1-0 to, I don't know, Stoke or Watford or something like that. And this is, sometimes this happens. This is football. Bollocks! So if you can cut that out, then I'll welcome him back with open arms.
No, he's a loser. He's a loser. He just managed to blow the French league.
No, he
didn't. The French
league
only has one team in it. The guy is useless. Every time he got to a big moment with us, he bottled it. One lucky Champions League Cup run and falling into inheriting a really good side, as HG has commented on many times. Well, I'm putting my name to it too. Does not make him the second coming of Christ. All right.
Who could we get that's better?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. Because that's where I'm going to work my way down my list now. Right now, Ali Gold, if you believe Ali Gold, very trusted news reporter on Football London, says the deal is close and it's someone who is under contract. So that means we can rule out several people.
Nuno. No thanks, Nuno. Where did these betting companies get off? He's favourite. How? Why?
Nuno is.
Yeah. I've got 6-4.
I'm gonna have a look at it right now.
The thing is, like when Gold says he's under contract in what capacity? Does he work for Sky? I mean, I'm sorry, like this is like, I'm under contract. Does that mean I have a chance? Like, I get that Alistair Gold has to, churn out 10 articles a day about this, that, and the other. But for him to say that, like, you're just hedging your bets. You're not really saying anything apart from, I don't think it's Benitez. None of us think it's Benitez. Who exactly are you ruling out by saying that they are under contract? Next to nobody. I like Ali, and I've had a good couple of chats with him, and he's a nice guy. But that to me just screamed, I've got to put something out there, so I'm going to say something something that covers most bases.
Wow.
And to be honest, and it's the same with the Athletic, and it's the same with other people. Nobody really knows who Levy is looking at. We're all making educated guesses based on who we think he might want, but no one really knows what he's thinking.
Well, let me tell you the current odds. You're quite right, Seb. Of course you are. Nuno is 13-8. I mean, how does that even work?
No.
13-8. Brendan Rodgers 11-4.
Even though he said he doesn't want
200%. I'm not interested in that job. And quite frankly, another loser. Why would we want him after blowing top four twice into? Do you know 92% of the last 2 seasons in time, Leicester have been in the top 4, and they still managed to screw it up. He's built for Spurs when you look at it like that, but it's not going to be him. Right, Ten Hag 5-1. I think this one has got a realistic chance, and I do love these things on Twitter where someone's working out where the Spurs private jet is and it's flown to Rotterdam and back. Ten Hag...
the jet went to Rotterdam to watch Eurovision. That's what it is.
Ten Hag, HG, what are you saying?
I think it's a definite possibility. I don't want Ten Hag at all. And I'm basing that on the fact that although he had a great team that year, they did really well in the Champions League. Was that really him, or was that the team? Because the players, because outside of winning the Dutch league for Ajax is almost a given, right? Like Feyenoord are nothing what they were. PSV don't seem to be going anywhere right now. So who's their main challenger? Like Alkmaar? No, like Ajax are pretty much guaranteed. If they don't win the league, there's an issue. And Frank de Boer won it 4 times with them, and he's a terrible manager. So I'm just nervous about Ten Hag. I don't really know what he stands for. And every time I've seen him give interviews, and I mean I speak Dutch, so I watch some of the stuff that Ajax put out. He just strikes me as being quite a wimp and a bit weak. And I don't know if I really want that at Spurs. I don't want someone to to cheerlead on the sidelines and go rah rah rah. But if you don't have a bit of steel about you, and it doesn't appear that he does. I don't know. So Ten Hag, it wouldn't be my choice, but I do think it has a pretty good chance of being him. Absolutely.
I agree. Seb, Ten Hag for you?
No, I probably don't know as much about Dutch football as HG, but I will disagree with him on something, which is that team that we beat in the semi-finals, I would argue that some of the players involved in that team that went on to perhaps bigger and better things haven't cut it. And actually, they look better in an Ajax team under Ten Hag than they do since they've left. Ziyech, I don't think he's done much at Chelsea. Van der Beek, obviously. He made Dusan Tadic look like a decent player. So, there's probably arguments. I think the point that HG raised about him being a bit of an unknown quantity and, do we get the next De Boer, that is a worry. And even with the players that we've taken from the Dutch league, that's never worked out well. So, there is maybe something there where are they lacking the quality, both players and managers. So it's a risk, but then there's not much out there at the moment that isn't a risk.
A bit of light relief. Soren says, HG speaks Dutch, treat us to some Dutch phrases. Pancake in the schiga.
Wat wil je dat ik zeg? Ik vraag me zo vaak af hoe ik me dik voel. Weet je, hoor? That's the best thing about Dutch is that hoor...
What I'd say, just firstly...
Hoor, no, wait. Hoor is literally a term of endearment.
Beautiful.
It's something you say to someone when you like them. Like, hello, hoor. Hoe gaat het, hoor?
There was a lot of swear words in what you said.
You do not get this from other podcasts. That's all I'm saying. You do not get this from other podcasts. So what did you just say, HG?
So the sentence I said that deliberately sounds like English swear words is ik vraag me zo vaak af hoe ik me dik voel, which basically translates as I often wonder why I feel so fat.
Okay.
No, it's one of those things like when I moved back to England after living in Holland, and people said, as they usually did, "Oh, say some Dutch." What was I going to say? Like, I 2 prostitutes and a windmill. No, it was going to be something that sounded rude and actually wasn't, and that's the sentence I decided on.
Well, apparently, if you get stuck, you could always ask Steve McLaren because he speaks fluent Dutch. Yish.
Dutch coppers. Yeah.
Right. Next up is Harry's dad, Mr. Graham Potter. What Seb Potter in?
You came to me on purpose, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Talking of swear words. Yeah. No, I'm not a fan. I appear to be in the minority on the Patreon chat. He seems to be the emperor's new clothes. Everyone thinks he's great. He won nine games. Okay, the last one of those everyone raved about against Man City. They played with 10 men for 80 minutes and they were out on the piss the night before. They are shite. The object of football is to get the ball in the net and stop it going in your net. Brighton couldn't do either. They are rubbish. They finished just above the relegation zone in a year where the 3 teams below them were possibly the worst teams that the Premier League has ever seen. Absolutely abysmal.
Seb,
do not want
Seb
him anywhere near. Anywhere near. I'll carry on. Anywhere near. I will be devastated if we give him the job.
Can we just put out there that Seb thinks Kevin De Bruyne is overrated? So, Like Brighton's defence was not much worse than ours when it came to goals conceded. And yes, they couldn't score, but as we all know, it's not.
You're
as
not
if
going to
they
go on
didn't have
about
the chances
XG,
to do
are
it.
you?
No, but I'm just saying that they certainly had more chances to score than they actually took. Which you can't say that about Spurs. Spurs strikers took more chances than they probably should have done. So there is something to it. Like, you want your team to create chances and hopefully score, and to stop chances, which I think Brighton did quite well. The issue is that they just didn't take those chances with Danny Welbeck and Neil Maupay, and I mean Connolly. Connolly is nothing. I don't understand why people.
But how long has he been there? How long has Potter been there?
He's been there
Brighton?
2 years.
Right. So buy a better
seasons.
striker. Buy a better striker. 4 transfer windows. If that's the problem, buy a better striker. They're not.
But when was this the problem? Was it at the start of this season after 1 year, or was it now? They've clearly got better when it comes to those things in this season than they were last season. Now, granted, he can sit there and say, right, maybe my strikers now, I need to improve. But if you look at the money that he spent since he got there, he bought a couple of defenders for big money. That Webster guy from, I think, Bristol City. They bought Trossard for a decent amount of money. Which I don't think Trossard's really done too much for them, but I guess he's in the Belgian squad, so maybe he's half decent. I don't know. I think striker is going to be their next thing. Like, if they sell Bissouma in the summer, that money will probably go. I mean, he had to deal with Danny Welbeck on a free. I mean, Lallana on a free. There was no money last summer to go around for anyone.
They spent money on players like Iscadero and Johan Bash, and
but that was all Chris Hughton. That was all Chris Hughton. That wasn't.
But what I'm trying to say is if Potter identified a striker that he wanted, they would probably have gone and got him if it was achievable.
But when are you saying this? Like when he first got there? I mean, that's the thing. Like last summer, when it was the one real Chad, no one had any money because of COVID. There was no money to go around. So I understand, it's 4 transfer windows, but it's not 4 normal transfer windows, is it?
No, but then go back further when he was at Swansea.
Go on.
I don't know why we're having this conversation, because we should not be looking at the manager of Brighton, who has won less than a quarter of his games this season. And I don't care what XG. No.
You know how much faith I have in the XG stat.
So would you be happy? Would you be happy if we got Potter? Because I'd be livid.
I wouldn't be livid. He wouldn't be my first choice, but he would be in my top 5. Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't be in my top 10.
He wouldn't, but my top 5 is possibly unrealistic. So we have to think about who's realistic as well. Because, I want Conte, for example. He would be, if I was picking a manager who I think's possibly interested in it and would be really good at the job, Conte would probably be my first choice.
He's my first choice as well. We can we can agree on that.
But I think the track record I think the chances of him getting coming to Spurs are negligible, to be perfectly honest. So we do have to think about these other targets, don't we? I mean, next down the list, by the way, is in fact Pochettino at 8-1. And we know that's not going to happen. Right. So here's a question.
Hold on. Whoa. Why is that not going to happen? He's got a year left on his deal.
Who? Conte?
No, Pochettino.
Oh, Pochettino. I don't think Levy will want him back.
Okay.
Simple as that. I think it's too soon. I would like for Pochettino to come back, but he needs to go off and win a league or two first. And he couldn't even do that this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you can't sit there and say Potter would be okay, even though he only won 9 games, and then say, well, Pochettino's got to win the leagues before he can come back. That doesn't really compute to me.
Me?
I just think that, you. I'm
saying I would take Potter
over Pochettino.
Yeah, 100%.
But wait,
because of the reason.
Because Pochettino's not won a league.
No.
What is the reason then?
Because it's too soon. It's way too soon.
I would be
surprised. He's still got all the same players here that were there that let him down. It's too soon. It needs to move on. We need to move on.
If I was Pochettino, Tottenham would not be somewhere I want to go. If I'm honest, I wouldn't be advising him to go back to Tottenham because I think he can only lose. Right? Like most fans hold him in such high regard. The whole country, really much, the whole media in here hold him in such high regard that if he didn't do what he'd done before, people would then start to question him. There's very little in it for Pochettino. He's not going to gain much by coming to Spurs. Even though in the situation we are, a lot of those players are his players that he bought. He was here when they came. So I don't think Pochettino should come back to Spurs. I think he probably should just see out his contract with PSG and see what happens. Because after 6 months, no one can really know what he can do at PSG. Like he's basically looking after Tuchel's team, and they came second, but most of those bad results happened when Tuchel was the boss.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If I'm Pochettino, I'm staying where I am, and I do think you're right, Caller. I think that Levy would have to swallow a huge amount of pride, and I don't see him doing that either. So I don't see
alternatives.
No, but I mean, it's similar. I mean, if Conte is an alternative, then I think Levy would rather have Conte than Pochettino come back. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Let's. I mean, I'm getting some abuse now for saying Potter over Poch. All I'd say is that
read out the abuse. Read out the abuse. I want to hear it.
All right. What? Callers on a bender. Potter over Poch, but you can't spell John, so you've lost that argument. CBS toys. Whoa, Potter over Poch. What? WTAF, which I can only assume that stands for what a total
arrogant
astute. Absolutely. I think and Franco raises a good point here. I'm still not convinced Poch is great in the transfer market. Let's see what he does with all that PSG cash. Rumour has it his first move is to bring in Serge Aurier, so questionable judgment, if I'm honest. I would just finish my case for the Potter prosecution on the fact that Brighton, yes, it's a small club. Yes, he's only got 9 victories. How many did Pochettino have the year we took him from Southampton to Spurs, and then he made his name at Spurs? You've got to give people a chance at some stage, I suppose.
You're
not going to know how good someone is until you give him a chance.
We can't take that risk.
I will say, Caller, that you probably shouldn't look up how many victories Southampton had that season because it was probably
they're about 10th. I know.
It was a number more. It was a number more than what Brighton had this year. But I guess the idea is if you look at Southampton when they took a punt on Pochettino, who'd been sacked or had left Espanyol because Espanyol were in the relegation zone at the time. Yeah. So I do take your point. You don't really know what someone is capable, and you can't base it on their last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever. You have to base it on what they do. Results, managers aren't in control of. They're not. Brighton are one of the lowest spending teams in the league. They don't have, they don't spend the money on wages. They might buy a few players when it comes for big money when it comes to transfer, but they are clearly the bottom quarter of the Premier League. of those things. So for Brighton to be where they are, yes, the results might make sense, but the way they're playing, it is where they should be. And it's certainly a lot better than Houghton was making them play. Even though they haven't got the results, they are playing better. They are a better team. Houghton was in charge.
Brandon says, I wish there was a universe where we could see Seb react when Potter gets hired, Caller react when Poch gets hired, and HG respond when Rodgers gets hired, and vote on who handled it worst. So I'm going to close
Brandon.
I'm going to close up this discussion now, but I am going to come to each of us, starting with you, Seb, and give me your top 3 realistic people. And if you want to include content, that's fine. People who you think would get, are realistically in the running and might get the job, and in order of preference.
Okay, I'll try and do that. Ten Hag is in the running, and I guess has to be considered. Conte, I would hope, is in the running, and would, as I said before, would be my number one choice. And then the other one that I've read is in the running, and we haven't really mentioned is, and I struggle with his name, but is Julian Lopetegui. I don't know enough about him. I obviously know that he ballsed it up as a Spain manager and went to Madrid and is now at Sevilla. But I'm reading that there's a chance that he's in the frame as well. There you go.
Okay, HG.
First choice, realistically, is probably Ralph Rangnick. Second choice would probably be Potter. And the third choice, I don't really want Ten Hag, even though I think he is probably up there. So I would say another German manager he's Austrian, but his name is Oliver Glasner, works for Wolfsburg right now.
Yeah.
I don't think Glasner really has a shot, but those would be my 3. I like the idea of Rangnick coming in because I think he would show hitching up very quickly, which is what we also need to happen. So that would be nice. But someone with a clear identity of how they want to play the game, and Rangnick definitely has that. So he would probably be my first choice.
And just to say again, I should have asked you this before, and who do you think, both of you, it's going to be? So HG first.
Like all evidence probably screams Ten Hag. I think Levy will look at that and think that the fans are going to be excited because this guy has won things. Ten Hag ticks a lot of boxes, right? So I think that Levy may well go that route, although I don't want him to.
Seb, you agree?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
It will be I think the money, if he wanted to go out and get Conte, I think he could. But I think Ten Hag is the choice of the board.
I think he is as well. In terms of my 3, for what it's worth, Conte, Potter, and Ragnarok. Absolutely, those would be the 3. Right, I've got this little guy. He's from Suffolk, pestering me to read a question out. He says, "Answer my question. Who are the 3 players we need to get rid of first?" And then he wants to say, who are what are the most 3 important positions to fill? So, HG, the 3 players you'd get rid of first. I'm sorry, it's only 3.
Okay. Instinctively, Lamella and Sissoko are 2 of them because I've said that for the last 2 or 3 seasons now. So that's not changed. Outside of that, yeah, I agree. I mean, they're 3. They're very obvious choices, but I think we can do better. So that those would be the 3. Yeah.
And what do you think the 3 most important are to fill?
Well, I would sell both right backs if I could. So I think we'll need 2 right backs, and we need a commanding centre half or 2. So I think it's got to be defence. Like if we assume that Kane is staying, then we need to shore up the defence, and I think that means selling or getting rid of at least half of the options we currently have. So I would be looking for 2 right backs, 2 centre halves, and maybe a creative number 10. Those would be my 3.
Okay, Seb, your turn to rabbit on.
Sissoko, Winks, and Ndombele.
Oh, that's controversial.
Those would be the 3 that I would sell and would raise money. I do think we need to sell a centre back as well to bring one in, but those would be the three that I would sell first, because I think you've got over 100 million quid there if you play it right. And Ndombele, I think I said this on a previous pod. He's played under 3 managers at Spurs, none of whom have been able to motivate him to get his arse into gear, and have all at various points had quite significant issues with him. He's not fit, which after 2 years is shocking. He ought to have his wages docked, in my mind. You come to play for a football club.
You are a sole trader a week. It's a good job.
I'm not a sole trader, no, limited company. 200 grand a week and you can't get yourself fit. He's made of glass. And like I say, it's not just my opinion. That's the opinion at various times of Pochettino, Mourinho, and Mason. So you'd expect him to be able to shine out under.
Oh, he's gone. He's gone.
his wife has had enough.
Literally,
get off the
that
computer.
Is the best timing ever. I love that. Seb, come back, Seb. I want to hear what you've got to say. Well, that gives me, a chance to actually speak between you two, which is nice. I put Danny Rose down as the first name on my list, but is that a cheat? I mean, he's a given, isn't he? He's going to be released, so we can't.
His contract runs out, and I don't think anyone's going to give him another one. So
Dyer,
okay,
sorry, because I just think he's done his time at the club. He'll carry a bit of value being homegrown, and
he's not homegrown. He's not homegrown.
Oh, shit, he's not, is he? He's from bloody Lisbon. No. Well, I'd still sell him, if I'm honest, because I don't think he's very good. Sissoko absolutely has got to go. What on earth we were doing giving him a long contract? I don't know. I've got to put this up there.
Pochettino.
Seb bottled, unbelievable. Yeah, gone, bottled it. Sissoko, another Pochettino mistake. What can I say? Cost us the Champions League final. I've still not really forgiven him for that. And then cost us the League Cup final, didn't he, as well? So can't really forgive him for anything.
I definitely feel like genuinely, like I went through this again today. I probably changed my mind relatively often about who I would keep this summer, but I would be tempted to let 10, 11 go to try and not just change the squad a little bit, but to really rebuild and say, right, the new man is in charge. You can get rid of half the squad. I genuinely don't think it would be a problem if we got rid of some of our heavier earners who are in the squad and aren't regular starters. I don't know. Like I think both right backs are in trouble. I could see if there is a half decent offer for Lloris and he wants to go, I could see that happening, even though I don't want it to.
Yeah.
I think Lloris probably deserves to leave on a free after 10 years by that point. So that would be I think that would be fair, but I mean, 3 of our centre halves could go, as far as I'm concerned. I genuinely believe that. I would not cry if Sanchez went. I would not cry if Rodon went. I would not cry if Dyer went. The 3 of them, I don't think any of them are particularly good enough. Tanganga can hang around and be a squad player. That would be fine. But I think we need 2 centre halves.
I think we do. I think my thing is with Ndombele and Lo Celso, I want to see him with a different coach. Because I think they're both talented individuals. They are made of glass. Sam's quite right in what he's saying, but I'd like to see. Ndombele has undeniably got enormous amount of talent. I just want to see someone unlock it and let him reach his potential. Obviously, Mourinho tried to give him the tough love, but I think Mourinho didn't really set the team around him very well to get the most out of him. So I suppose he's in last chance saloon for me, but absolutely.
I do think that Seb was being slightly unfair, like saying that Pochettino didn't rate or didn't play Ndombele. That's not true. Ndombele came straight into the team and played most of those games. Yeah, he was, wasn't particularly fit, but by this point, I think the Pochettino had changed the system, changed the training, was trying to get players on side. That a lot of the players had kind of checked out. I think it's harsh to say that Pochettino didn't do a lot with Ndombele because there really wasn't that much time, and Pochettino never really saw Lo Celso play. Same with Sessegnon. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think both of them, although they definitely have relatively obvious weaknesses, They're very, very good players. And if we can somehow find a way to get them in the same team working, and I think that, for example, if you look at the way that Potter plays, I think they both would fit quite well in a Potter side, because Potter likes to play with 3 centre halves. So, Dombele could do what Bissouma does, I think, quite happily. He's got 3 centre backs behind him. I think that Lo Celso could be one of the 2 players that usually floats behind Brighton's lone striker. I think that would suit him too. So I think that, like, if it was to be Potter, both of those players would enter a system that would probably suit them a bit more than what we've seen, because neither one of those players are counter-attacking players, and that's what we've seen for a year and a bit with Mourinho. For most of their stay, they've been asked to play counter-attacking football. So yeah, I agree completely. Like, both of them deserve another season, despite the fact that you might get good money for them. I don't think you would. I think the best you could probably hope for with Dombele is some kind of loan with an option to buy. I don't see someone putting down big money for him this summer, so I think he should stick around.
We were just talking about how harsh you were, but it was perfect timing when you cut out, Seb. I've got to say that absolutely made my day, really. Yeah, and my third choice was Aurier, by the way, just to go back to it. So I said, Seb, because you probably missed it, Rose is being released anyway, Danny Rose. I thought that would please you. I just put it in there for you, really. But if we're talking about 3 people to sell, Dyer, Sissoko, Aurier. But in all honesty, like most Spurs fans, we could pick about 10, 12 people to get rid of out of that squad. And that is the problem, isn't it? That's why it's important we get a guy in or a girl in pretty quickly to manage the side, because we've got to do some big business in the transfer market, and there's an awful lot of dead wood that needs chopping, isn't there?
I think if you'd have asked the other way round, and who do you want to keep, that might have actually been shorter, because there's probably 3 or 4. Apart from that, I don't know if I'm that asked about many of them. So, it's been a really poor season, and as you said right at the start, it's not just the position that we found ourselves in the league table. It was the dross that was being served up week in, week out.
Yeah.
So, but we're all mugs, because all on the Patreon chat today has been how excited we are for the next season. So we just go again.
And I've renewed my season ticket. Yes, get in there. Over £1,000 to Levy. There you go. Make it rain. If you're watching us for the first time, please do hit the subscribe button and click the bell, and you'll be notified when we go live. HG, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Final thoughts? Sack Steve Hitchin. Sell half the squad. Give people like Skip and Sessegnon opportunities next season. I genuinely, we talk about how far away we are. When it comes to unity, very much so compared to some other teams. But when it comes to quality, I don't know if we really are that far away. We just need to get it right. And that involves getting a manager. The manager has to be a good decision. That is a major thing. And hopefully, like, I was sitting there today thinking, by the end of the week, like, we've got the Europa League final Wednesday. Levy's not going to want to compete with that. When he does announce a manager, he's going to want it to be the main news. We've got the Euro announcement tomorrow. He's not going to want to compete with that. The Champions League finals on Saturday, the playoff finals on Saturday. So let's say next Monday, when the season is basically over, that's when I think it's going to be announced. I think he's got a week. And if it goes into June, there's a problem. It has to happen in the next 7 days. And Levy will pick the time to get the most marketability, the most attention on the club.
Seb, what are you, any final thoughts from you? I will just chuck this in here. Phil Ambrose, will you be podding or YouTubing over the Euros, guys? Yes, absolutely we will, because we all love football, not just Spurs. We don't quite know what that's going to look like yet, but there will be plenty of content. So do even more reason why you should absolutely subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure you turn on alerts. Seb, any final thoughts from you?
No, not at all. It's been a fun chat, but just not Potter.
I mean, and I will say, just please don't go back to Poch. We don't need to turn. It doesn't work out when you go back to your exes. Absolutely doesn't. So, look, thanks for watching, everybody. It's been a pleasure as always. And come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you
Come
Spurs.
on, you Spurs.